Hey guys, in this video I want to share two seemingly small tips that may just change your life if you're not already doing them. And I'm kind of being hyperbolic, but maybe not. Depends on whether or not you're already doing these things. And so, I don't know, we'll see. The first tip is to read the book Atomic Habits. I will do a video on Atomic Habits, some point in the future. I want to do something that's like particularly in depth because like every chapter of that book is game changing in terms of your understanding of how your mind works and how you can build great practice habits. All the different ways, from controlling your environment to like creating new reward systems, all kinds of just weird things that you wouldn't normally think of. That book makes it pretty clear, and I feel like it's just ridiculously related to being a musician, and anyone who's read it will probably tell you the same thing. So read that book. And then the next habit, or next tip, I meant to say not habit, speaking of habits though, is if you are on an iOS device. I think this is only available to iOS devices. Maybe I'm mistaken, but you can check it out. Download the app Streaks for iOS. And I feel like, I wonder if the people that like created Streaks all read Atomic Habits, because I feel like the idea behind maintaining streaks of habits, which is basically what the app is designed to help you do, I feel like they just kind of go hand in hand with one another. So if you like read this book and also download this app at the same time, and you're like, I'm going to turn a new leaf and start practicing a lot more, you might actually just very well be successful. Maybe today could be your first day of that, and then life changes happen. So I wish you the best with that. I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works. I'll do a little screen recording, and I will put this up on my video so that you can see it. So I am in my phone here, and I've got the Streaks app open, and it has like a nice slick little interface where you add these little circles that represent tasks that you're trying to keep track of. And the idea of the app is to be just very simple, but also be like really rewarding of doing habits successfully over whatever interval that you choose. It could be every day, it could be every week, it could be every month. It doesn't matter. You choose the interval, you choose what counts as a success for you, and it tracks the connection. I don't really care about the connection personally. I actually like to use the app to just like manage a bunch of timers and stuff. But the end goal of it is to like have a long streak of habits, and I guess that's really important to this whole thing. And that's also something Atomic Habits talks about. So we're going to add a task here, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how this might apply to you being a musician. So one of the reasons I like this app is because you can have a bunch of different timers on it. And the timers can be ridiculously nuanced. And you could have like segmented timers in a day, or segmented timers over the course of a week representing that you practiced in a day, or segmented timers over the course of a week representing that you practice over the course of a week or a month. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. So let's say we want to create a little timer thing here. So we're going to say practice piano. We're going to just go over there. I'm in the timed task option. There's checkbox task, there's negative task, there's all kinds of different things you can do. But we're doing a timed piano practice task, and it automatically picked a little keyboard thing for me, which is relevant. So let's say we want to practice for 20 minutes. Right? So if I save this as is, it's a daily task, meaning that I should do it every day. And when I press the little play button after I save the task, I don't want to save it yet because I want to walk you through these options. But when I press the play button, the timer will start ticking down from 20 minutes. And you can pause it, and it doesn't mess with other timers that you surround this with in the app. So you can have like, 48 timers if you want. So like that's totally, or no, 24 timers, because I think it's only 6 streaks per page times 4. Anyway, so this is if I wanted to do a 20-minute timer every day, and you do it 1 time a day, okay? But you could do 3 times a day for an hour total of practice. So it segments it, and so every time you press play, it's filling out the first segment until the segment is complete. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. First of all, here's what happens if I start the timer. See, it starts ticking down. And so you can like set your phone down, you could lock it or whatever. I'm not going to because I don't want to turn off the screen recording, but it basically will go in the background, and then when you stop it, it'll still sync the progress to all your other devices. So it's pretty cool and super handy, works with the watch. So I'm going to stop that, right? So I'm going to hold this down, which is going to simulate as if I completed this task. So you can see that it filled up the 1/3 of my daily quota, if you will. So if I hit the timer again, it'll start working on that next segment. And I really, really like that because you can really break down your practice this way. And you can also create like all sorts of different wacky ratios for things. So let me show you another example of what you can do. So I'm just going to type piano. We're going to do, oops, let me do that again. We're going to do another task, but this time what I'm going to show you is the weekly option. This is something that hasn't been around in the app for that long. But I like this because by default, when you choose daily task, you can use like a number of days per week or whatever, but it's only possible to get credit for one unit of the task in a day. But when you do the weekly task, you can get credit for as many as you're willing to do up to the number that you want over the course of a week. And you can define when the week resets too. So that's very helpful. So like this is helpful if you're like, I want to practice an hour a day on average, which means if I miss a day, I'd like to be able to make it up. And so this app lets you do that because you can just do 2 one day. And I also really like it. Let's say I want to practice like every day. So 7 times a week. So I'm going to hit save. And so now you can see that it's segmented in 7 little blocks, and each block is a timer if you want it to be a timer, or you can be a check mark like I want to practice light reading. Oh, I did it, check. But in this case, it's a timer. So if you look at the little app, hopefully you can tell it is Tuesday as I'm recording this right now, and I forget when I have my little reset for the week, but you can see that some of this weekly task is already grayed in. Not completed, it's not marked as complete, it's just a little darker than the rest of the bubble. That's showing me that's how far I should be by this point. And so that helps me stay with, like, especially if I did, you can do this for a monthly task, right? You can do, I want to practice 22 days in a month or whatever. So that would show you how far, like, this day is in the month for you relative to, like, what you've done. And so that lets you stay ahead, and that lets you make sure that on average you're doing what you need to be doing and what you set out for. So it's just a cool app, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. You can also do it to, you can use the app to manage like your keys. So like, let's say you're practicing 12 key areas, maybe relative major and minor or parallel major and minor, doesn't matter. But you'd pick that, right? That would take up 2 pages of the 4 pages of the app, and you can have, 12 spots. You can have 12 spots taken up, 1 representing each key area. And you can have those on whatever interval you choose so that you can have the luxury of being able to focus on one particular key at a time or a couple of keys at a time, and you can kind of check them off and use the app to have a really systematic approach with your practice. You can use it to help you practice pieces that are completed, but you want to keep them in circulation. You can create a task that has a link to a document of your choosing. And if you follow me at all, you might know that I really appreciate the note-taking app Craft, which has the ability to deep link in it. And so you could take the deep link from Craft or something like Things 3 or one of these other apps. You take the deep link and you can stick it in the action button of one of these streaks things. And instead of starting a timer, if like it's a checkbox task or whatever, you can just click the little button. It'll take you right to that page where maybe you have a little dashboard of all the things you're working on. So it gives you really easy access. So there's infinite ways to use it, and I feel like it was just a very helpful app for me. I've recommended it to my students, and like pretty much everybody has really enjoyed that. And despite my recommending it quite a while ago, many of them are still using it to this day. And it just goes hand in hand with reading Atomic Habits and establishing really, really good habits. So in a future video, I will talk more about the specifics of Atomic Habits and how like you can use some of the techniques in there to build amazing habits. For example, there was one thing that I recommended where like you can create associations and rewards that you wouldn't normally think of. Like for example, I want to wake up early, I want to have my coffee. I don't necessarily feel like practicing first thing, but that's probably the best time for me to practice. And I had the most successful time establishing regular practice when I denied myself the ability to drink my coffee until I sat at the piano. So then I started to associate the piano with my coffee. So when I woke up, I'm like, oh, I want coffee. That means I got to practice piano. Like that's the association that like the book showed you that you can make those types of things and sort of like reset what you think of as a reward and what drives you to do something. And if it gets you started, then it's you know, especially if it's a habit that you really care about, but you just can't seem to get it going. These tips, these things found in this book, and also being supported by an application like this, could end up changing your life. Who knows? So anyway, hope you found this video helpful. I'll follow up with some other stuff. If you have questions, more questions on things like streaks in particular, I'm happy to do a follow-up video on that. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye.